What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. I'm here in this business breakthrough session with my good friend Mo from My Fence Co. Now, I know a lot of us are painters, and I'm trying to get as many other contractors in here as possible because the principles are the same. And Mo actually works a full-time job, and he's trying to run his business on the side. It's growing. He's got a couple subcontractor crews, but something's not right and he wants to fix it. So he reached out to me for a business breakthrough session and we're going to dive in. We're going to figure it out. So it's coming up next. Check it out. The big question you need to ask yourself every day is, do I own a job or do I own a business? And unfortunately, the majority of contractors out there own a job. That's right. They're a slave to their own business. But the other side of the fence is so much greener. It's so much better. And that's when you're finally fully in control of your destiny, your freedom, your time. And that's what Contractor Secrets is about. It's about taking back our time, building a business with systems, standards, values, procedures, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And that's what it's about. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have you here. Let's dive into the Contractor Secrets podcast. Moving interior, so
True.
that's always fun. So
Shuffling around, yeah.
I want to get into it, man. Your time's just as valuable as mine. So let's just jump in. I'm going to do a quick intro. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to give you everything I got, man. Let's see if we can break through here. All right.
That's awesome, man.
All right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Business Breakthrough. I am, dude. Oh, what's your first name?
Mo.
Mo. I knew it. Sorry, dude. Yep. I drew a blank. All right. I'm thinking My Fence Co.
Right.
Right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Business Breakthrough. I'm here with Mo with My Fence Co. And quick background from our brief conversation not too long ago. Mo is the owner of My Fence Co. It's a new fencing business, not the fighting business, the fence installation business. And he currently has a job and he's looking to start his own. And going to really just pick up to where we left off, man. I think we were really just deciding whether you were going to kind of go all in on commercial work or residential work. Since our last conversation, has anything changed?
I gave it more thought for sure. Just trying to picture it, like have a vision for what it would look like doing commercial versus residential. And I kind of leaning on more towards your side. If residential could probably be a more sustainable, repeatable,
duplicatable,
expectable kind of business flow. Because commercial jobs, the good thing about them is there's a fence going up on that job no matter what. It's on the site plan, like it's going up for sure. But they're far in between. You can't schedule as well as you can residential jobs, and you lose a little bit of the relationship by meeting directly with the decision maker. Sometimes you're dealing with someone who's just looking at numbers and doesn't care whether the fence is good quality or not. But
that's right.
Homeowners are dealing directly with who's making the decision. They're closer, which
that helps
to go to them and manage them. So I've kind of been thinking about what it would look like to be more residential than commercial.
So it's kind of the same in painting. A lot of my following people listen to me are painters, painting contractors. When it comes down to deciding, there's more than just that one, I would say like that one factor of, payments and meeting with people and all that. I honestly think the greatest, absolute best benefit of working with homeowners, and, you might think, oh, that's a weird way to think of it. I think of it is that you get free managers, right? So when my guys are painting in a house, I have a free manager there, which is the homeowner that's overseeing my team for me. It's a way it's ultimate accountability, because ultimately they're the best managers you can hire because they're not friends with the team.
Right. Yeah.
So ultimately, if something goes wrong, or if something's off, or if the guys are taking too long of a lunch, which my guys are great, man. They're hard workers. I'm just saying that not everyone has that luxury. If something's going wrong, or if there's, something going on, I get another set of eyes there to look after. Now in commercial work, it's do you have a GC there? Sure. Usually that GC has multiple jobs. I'm just saying that in the event that something is going on in a residential setting, you have another set of eyes. So that's one way I like to look at it. Another really cool benefit
about that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
The best thing about that is like it happens right there. Like if there's something wrong, they're going to tell you right then and there. Commercial guys will tell you 2 weeks after you
Two
build the
weeks
job.
after,
Like,
and
go back and forth.
exactly.
Like,
The homeowners don't care. Like the GC knows that there's budgets and deadlines and things they need to get done, so they'll let a lot of things go. Oh, your guy's out smoking a cigarette for 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? The homeowner, hey man, what's up with this guy?
Right. That's a great point.
So but here's the thing, the team knows that, and there's a certain level of respect that gets elevated when they're working in a homeowner environment. Again, because they know that number one, there's another manager, quote unquote, there that doesn't care, if they hurt their feelings by calling the boss. And, I would expect my manager to do that, but there's this camaraderie there. Hey man, don't worry. That I can understand, but also, it's good to know things as the boss. So that's a little bit of a different dynamic to look at. Another thing is the atmosphere for your guys is way better. And we talked about this. And maybe you can elaborate on, some things that you thought about in terms of, hiring, getting into, really selling the vision to people. Like, hey man, I know there's a lot of fencing companies you may have worked for that do these new, this commercial work and this cold dry stuff. We actually work with homeowners, so why don't you talk a little bit about, some thoughts that you have on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the kind of number one thing I lead with is like, first question that always comes up is price. And I always kind of like to lead with it's like, I know price is important to you. What other things are important to you after the fact? It's kind of like, I get that out of the way. I know price is important, but, and I start talking about how we do things different. My first line is we hire PhDs for installers, which is professional hole diggers, which always gets a laugh, because it's, just break the ice there a little bit. But the biggest things that we do, we communicate, we coordinate, and we consult. It's like the three big things I've seen happen on a bad job. There was bad coordination, bad consulting, bad, they don't consult with you. They just, tell you the fence is going to go up. They don't really give you any kind of direction.
Well, my concern, I know you got the sales foundation down because I think you currently do that for a living, right? Yeah. So you're working for a larger commercial company that does these large jobs. So you've got the process down in terms of presentation and, ultimately following up, being that representative. Like you've been trained to do. That's phenomenal. And the way I like to look at this situation, specifically when I'm, helping business owners, is that's your comfort zone. Okay. Like your comfort zone is that. So naturally 80% of your attention and focus is going to lean towards your comfort zone. It's the same if I were talking to you and you were an expert level fence installer and thinking, hey, I want to own a company. And if you've never owned a company before, which I don't believe that you have, right? It's your first company?
One company before, it was a retail company.
It was the retail company. That's right. You told me it was a retail company. So a little bit different, but the direction that you decide to head in has to come from a business owner mindset as opposed to a salesperson mindset. Because a salesperson mindset is, I'm going to find anything I can to sell to make money, right? That's like the first thing that you're going to try to do, whether it's commercial or residential. That's why the focus of our conversation, Tim, in me helping you, is the business owner mindset, which says, I need to figure out what direction is going to be best for the end result of, can I duplicate this process? Can I scale this business? Can it free me from actually having to do physical labor, and at some point free me from having to do sales? And when we look at that, we have to find which direction to go in. You cannot be successful early on in this business taking on commercial and residential work. It doesn't matter what trade you do, because they require different types of interaction, engagement, customer service, the whole experience. Like general contractors want to see the numbers. Homeowners feel that experience. Like, you know what? I trust Mo as opposed to the other guy. Even though the other guy is a little bit cheaper, Mo comes across as somebody that's actually going to make sure that we get a good job done.
And I use that somewhat to my advantage. Is like, I think homeowners, and I know I'm not going to forever be able to do this, but I say, hey, you have the owner of the company here looking at your fence, walking the fence with you. It's not always going to be like that. I understand. But, a lot of times they do have just, I guess a regular sales guy or a new guy that comes out and just doesn't really give them the wow factor. But I use that to my advantage for sure. But yeah, 100% different between, the time commitment it takes for commercial jobs versus residential. Completely.
So let's say that we've made the commitment for residential, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that I always like to ask, like, what's the X factor, right? What's the thing that if you were to come to my house, I already know based off of talking to you and looking at you, because you have a polo on and a really nice logo, which I love. I told you that I love your branding. It's great. Why would I choose you? Although you said a couple things, the owner's going to be there walking the fence, which I can appreciate, but still, I don't know. That doesn't really, do it for me. So give me your best shot.
I want to, every customer I ever walk up on, I want to deliver on the initial promise that we set, when an expectation that we set from the very first time we meet. My biggest goal is to deliver on that promise. If I come out there and I tell you we're great, we're going to install efficiently, we're not going to be at your house more than a day, we're not going to, cause damage to other stuff. We're going to try not to cause damage to a lot of other stuff. But if we do, if there's a problem and we're not perfect, if we fall short of our standard, I'm going to make sure that that problem gets dealt with immediately, fixed for you. The biggest thing that I've written down to myself over time is, the term PACE, performance after critical error. So I know errors are going to happen. There should be few and far between. How you perform. Yeah. How do you perform after a critical error? Wow. So it's like, if we miss the day, if we miss a communication, I'm going to try my best to make sure that initial promise I gave you is delivered on the final install is my biggest goal to anybody.
Right. So one thing that I really, that even you saying that, the substance of what you said was good, but the way that you said it was what did it for me. Right. So when you're sitting, and I know that that's natural for you, and we know that we're putting together a podcast. So I want to make sure that, anyone listening to this grabs that, is that the substance of what you said is how is great, because everybody can say the dream, but how you come across is what sold me. So, one thing that I like is that you do have a structured process. And I know that transitioning that to homeowners probably wasn't that hard for you. Which is great. So, let's just assume that your sales process is good. And let's just assume that, you have good administrative principles in terms of, answering the phone, and I know, did you say your wife helps you out with the phone? Perfect. So that's great. So she's helping out with the phone. You got something in the back end. Now we have two other areas. We have production and we have marketing. So we're going to focus on those for the remainder of our talk here. Production. Do you have anyone helping you with installation right now? And what are they classified as, employees or subcontractors? Tell me a little bit about who you have working for you.
So we have 3 to 4 crews that we can reach out for on subcontractors. Okay. So, and that's my biggest hurdle right now is exactly what you said. Marketing and project management is my 2 biggest. Right. And I recognize those. They're 2 biggest weak points, because I find myself managing projects from ordering materials to making sure they're on the trailer to delivering them to the job site. That takes a lot of time away from my ability to go sell jobs or to focus on other stuff. So, and that comes from mainly, first starting a business, you feel like you have to do everything, which I feel like just internally I do. But biggest problem right now is project management. I don't have a project manager. It's all on me to schedule materials, order them, cost, jobs. I mean, everything that goes along with that, and marketing side as well. Yeah.
So, I think personally, in terms of your business specifically, there's nothing wrong with the subcontractors that you have, as long as you trust them and they do a good job, which I'm going to assume that they do. If you're proudly saying that you have 4 crews that you can reach out to, are you saying that's true? You have a
they're good. I mean, there's stuff that I want specifically done on almost every job, but they're good to adjust and do.
Okay. So let's just
a couple hours before they're finishing. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Perfect. So let's say that they're great. Okay. So we know that, and just as a little side note, you still work a full-time job while doing this. So you're like, man, I just have no time to do anything.
Yeah. And family and everything else. It gets crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It gets crazy. So, and I know you said that there's a certain number you want to hit before you quit, and we're just going to assume that, this job that you have is actually a good thing. And the reason I'm telling you that is because it's actually going to create this urgency to hire this project manager way faster than it would if you were doing this full time, because you'd be like, I'll just handle it. I'll just take care of it. I'll just do this, because your time, but really you're full-time job is like a hedge against, I would say, the laziness toward hiring a project manager, because you just feel like you can handle it. And that's something that is a detriment to a lot of business owners, that they just feel like, I got it. And when you say that too much, you fill your whole day up, right?
I'm in it right now. Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk about what it would take for you to hire a project manager, right? So why don't you list for me all the things that you say that you do that are taking up so much of your time, and as you say them, I'm gonna type them. So go ahead.
Just project management or all together?
Project management, only project management. So let's start with in the morning, waking up, and do you have to drive to the material place to pick up the materials?
Yeah. There's time. It starts off with that. After the job is sold, is like figuring out exactly what materials I have. What I do is once I sell 4 or 5 jobs, I do one large order, which means going through every job and seeing exactly what materials, what gates, what hinges, all the material build.
Okay. So I'm going to say material coordination is the first one. Okay.
Yep.
So let's talk about the physical aspects, like hopping in the car. I just want to get those out of the way first. So driving to the material place. Let's say you placing the order is before that, obviously. Driving to the material place. Where are you housing any of the materials if you have bulk materials?
I got a 500 square foot storage that we just store surplus materials in. So I try to order in pallet quantities because I get a little bit of a price discount by doing that, but I usually end up with extra materials because of that.
Yeah.
So not only is it's probably the biggest pain point, and I'll be honest with you, is like the extra materials, getting them on the job site, cleaning them up, storing them correctly in the storage unit. It's another trip to the storage unit to do that before I'm, running around back home to do something.
So what else is the project manager responsible for when you put that hat on?
The project manager delivering materials to the job site in the morning.
Okay.
Going to the job site if there's a missing.
So you would assume, and then probably you go and talk with the customer, right? So talk with the customer. Okay.
Do the layout.
Talk
according
with
to the site plan.
Subs. Okay. You have to do the layout, you said?
Yeah. So we just take out the survey and start measuring corners and, angles and whatever we have to do. So
and then you got to do the site pins.
Yeah, finding site pins, finding corner markers. Yep, based on the survey, that takes time. That's mostly I just tell the installer they're good about finding those before I get there, which is really good.
But you got to check them, right?
You got to check them. Yeah, I got to make sure they're set on the inside of the property line. Pull a string, which takes time, and going over the site plan with the sub. Gate goes here. They wanted it attached to the house. In swing this way. It's all on the site plan.
So would you say that that's about 3 hours to 4 hours of your time getting all this set up in the morning?
Including material pickup, drop off, layout, all that stuff, I'd probably say about 2 to 3 hours.
2 to 3 hours. Okay. So driving to the material place, delivering the materials, talking with the customer, talking with the subs, making sure, all this is getting, done, taken care of, surveying the job, laying it out, site pins, checking them. Okay. So you have this, and here's my concern when I think of a project manager. After that, what does he do for the rest of his day if you're only doing one job a day?
I would hope that I could have more than one job going in a day. So he would go from, maybe we can start.
I'll be honest with you. With you working a full-time job and that, it's going to be hard to get past one job a day.
Yeah, no, I can't do it right now.
Can't do it right now. So we know that you're not going to be comfortable leaving your job until something occurs where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable leaving my job. Now, here's something that, it's coming to mind. Okay. All of these things here should be done by somebody who's actually going to be on site for the duration of the project. In my personal opinion, right? The problem with your subcontractors is they're just another company essentially, and you can't delegate that to somebody within someone else's company. That doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
Right. So what I think would be the best possible option for you looking at this scenario. Okay. And this is what I wrote down. You got to wake up in the morning, got to drive to material place. You got to go to the storage unit if you got to go to the storage unit. You got to deliver materials to the job. You've got to talk with the customer and be a representative of My Fence Co. You got to talk with the subcontractors, get them on the same page. You got to survey the property. You got to lay it out. You got to have site pins and you got to check them. Okay. Now, we talked about this the other day, but what I would think would be a really good way to organically grow slow, because the last thing you want to do is take on 3 jobs. You haven't had a chance to go through your errors. You haven't had a chance to make mistakes. You haven't had a chance to really do all this. And keep in mind, you're still working a full-time job, which you don't want phone calls, man, while you're working. It's just not a good look. Your boss is going to be like, dude, where you been, you know, and we don't want to get to that point unless you're really ready to leave. So my suggestion is to organically grow a crew of employees. Okay. And the first thing that you should be looking for is somebody that you can plug into this role as a project manager. You're going to be grooming this person into ultimately a supervisor of not only your employee crew that is proprietary to My Fence Co., but also the guy that oversees the subcontractors when you're ready to take off and leave your job. And you can keep the subcontractors busy whenever that comes up, and also can manage the employee crew that you have. Now, I would say that a good fencing crew is a team of 4. Would you agree?
2 to 3, probably ideal.
2 to 3, even better. I mean, even if you do a team of 2, fine. I mean, that means you're only 2 guys away from putting this process in motion. Fine, do 2. So the idea would be, and even if you were to look for a project manager, bro, you've got to find somebody with experience in this trade. Like you don't have the time to train somebody to do this stuff and to know customer service, to know surveying, layout, site pins, you know, managing subs. Like that's a unicorn. Like, so if you're going to go unicorn hunting, you might as well recruit them for your business. Right?
Right. True. Yeah.
Might as well, instead of like recruiting them just to oversee subs, recruit them to be somebody that actually works on site and can manage the one other person that you hire as a quote unquote helper hand. Because really that's what you need. That guy's going to say, hey, hold this, do this, dig this. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be the dynamic. And I would saying, good.
I wanted to understand the project manager would essentially be the main foreman on the job installing. So he would have to know how to install fence as well.
Absolutely.
On top
of course. Wouldn't you think that it would be beneficial, even if I didn't give you this advice and I said, you know what, just find somebody to manage the subs? Wouldn't you think it'd be beneficial for that person to know how to install a fence?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because the subs aren't even going to listen to him. They're like, well, this guy has no clue what's going on.
True.
So if you're going to find somebody that knows how to install a fence, recruit them to be an employee of My Fence Co. as a project manager who gets paid not only to install, but also to manage. And then once you build that trust with that individual and you know that they're a good applicant for your company, when you decide to leave your full-time job and you want to find work for the subs, that guy gets promoted to oversee the subs. Now, in the beginning, you're going to be doing that. You're going to be overseeing Joe, your new project manager, and his employee who are doing one job here and there. And then you're going to be overseeing the subs if you do happen to get jobs for the subs. And then eventually you get to a point where you're like, dude, this is too much. Joe, come on, you're the supervisor. I'm going to find a new project manager to manage the helper guy. And now you're going to take over my role. Right. And then now you just go into sales and now you're in sales. And then eventually you're going to be like, dude, this is a lot. I'm doing 15 estimates a week. I got to get somebody to come in and do sales. Right. So that's how it works. The game is you're literally in a role and then you fill the role once you're extended. Right. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter what business you do. That should be the game that you play. So in my personal opinion, finding this person to do this job for you, this project manager, there's a process in place. I talk about my sales, my hiring process a lot. That's what it's going to come down to. And I think you're going to attract someone that has a like mind to you, but I also want you to have this set out ahead of time. And I think what you should really do is understand that you need to pay well. And the biggest fear with employees is that you're not going to be able to keep them busy, but you will. Once you have somebody to keep busy, you'll find a way to keep them busy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
So let's talk about this for a second. When I say find an employee, and, no wrong answer here. What would be your next move?
I've been thinking about going to, and I'm not sure if you've tried this or it's good, going to like maybe a temp service to where they can plug me into a project manager that way I can kind of feel them out. I think they do like 2 or 3 months,
So
trial
a temp
period before.
service is an employee lease, is like a leasing agency. So essentially you can't, I think that there's verbiage in the contract that you can't recruit this employee to be proprietary, because ultimately the temp service wants to be they want to have.
Oh no, I was talking about more for like temp to hire. So like there's 3 months of them, like you getting them, but then they have an opportunity to become a full-time employee after like 3 months or something like that.
You could go that route. I feel like you're missing out on a large pool of labor, simply for the fact that not everyone buys into those temp agencies, so you're missing out on a lot of people that would want to work for you that you can find. And let me real quick run through my hiring process. So essentially you want a really appealing ad that says exactly what you're looking for. You're going to put it on Craigslist or Indeed. You're going to filter those applicants into a Google form so you can have all of their information in one place. That Google form is going to have different questions that are going to really showcase their character. That's what you're looking for, is character, somebody that holds himself to a high standard, knows the business, that you can resonate with and say, I trust that person. Because ultimately, when you hire somebody in this role, you're going to want to look at them as if they're going to be talking to your customers. So you're going to be looking for character. Skill is great, but if you can't communicate, it's going to be bad for you and for the customer. So that's the focus. From there, it's a phone interview. So you're going to be calling, hey man, getting that feel of what they talk, how they talk, all the above. From there, in-person interview. So we've already done 4 filtering out processes right there.
Yeah.
For in-person interview. After that, it's going to be a working interview, right? So that's 5 steps of hiring. And if you want to do a background check, you can, right? And if you want to do a social media check during one of those stages, you can as well, right? So that's a 7-step phase of filtering out an applicant. The tricky part for you is going to be aligning this up with a residential job, so maybe find a customer that is a little lenient. You don't want the guy who, goes out and sniffs his grass to check for fertilizer, that knows it. You want somebody that's pretty lenient, that if, just so you can get a little test run going, even though you'll be there to supervise it. And remember, that's what you're going to be doing for a while. You're going to be supervising this project manager. You may actually even be helping this guy in some regard until you find a helper. The helper is easy. We need to find a manager. And I think that you should think about how much you're going to be paying that person. Do you have a clue?
I was thinking in the ballpark of, $16 to $20 an hour, somewhere there. And I just kind of wanted, hopefully, to start somewhere where I can build them up. And
right, I agree.
Say that it's, if you start out this and like if you stick with me for 3 months, 6 months, 9, 12, and then
love it. Yeah.
So even if it's a small increase, it's still
something to strive toward. And I think very important.
And it's quick. It's like 3, 6, 9 is like, it's almost immediate, increase, but it still gives me time to feel. In 9 months, I'm for sure going to know,
I love it. So in 3 months, let's say you start someone off at 16, maybe 17, here's my rule. Whatever somebody's getting paid at the job that they've done before, if I really like them and I want to bring them on, I always up it a little bit. I always want them to feel like coming to my company is a step up, I don't want them to feel like financially, because a lot of people come to work for money. I mean,
sure.
As much as they like me, they come to work for money. So I gotta, obviously pay them. So for me, I want them to feel like they're getting some more, and the more you pay, the higher quality, you got to remember that good quality labor is sought after in the marketplace. So you're competing for not only business, but for good quality labor. So what do you think about some of that in terms of production? Then we're going to talk about marketing real quick. What do you think about that strategy?
that would take off a whole nother, like you said, there's going to be that supervising phase to where I'll just have to be, building this guy up to set it up how I would prefer. And I can probably learn from him too, but it would take away so much of the responsibility, not responsibility, but most of the time that it takes to manage jobs, to do that whole part so I can grow in sales and market more
That's
jobs.
exactly
And
what it comes down to.
I can only save on cost so much before I bottom out, but I can grow my sales to 10x and not, it's just, there's only so much you can save and try to do yourself.
Yeah.
So that's why I love that you said the project management, because that's literally what I've been thinking about last 6 months. Like the first person I'm going to hire is going to be a project manager.
Well, it's got to be done. And I think there's a good opportunity. I've been telling everybody this right now during Christmas to be hiring. You think how many guys struggle to find work right now? Even my company, dude, we're thin on jobs. I just know the game though. Like I know that every year around Christmas, around January, people are all like not thinking about painting. They either got it done before in November, or they're planning on doing it in January or, the spring, around that time, like the vast majority of requests. So it's like, you've got to be a strategist as a business owner to get your company through, late December, early January. And a lot of guys aren't a strategist. So unfortunately they have no choice but to either let their guys go, or, I've got my best guys during this time period every year. I get somebody if I need them, because I'm the one, I have the work, and whoever has the work is the king of the castle, man. And so that's why we're going to get into marketing, because marketing is what brings you the opportunity. And marketing is 9,000 million times easier for a residential contractor than it is a commercial contractor, because marketing channels now are so geared toward homeowners. You have Facebook, you have social media, Google, Home Advisor, all these things. It's beautiful. Back in the day when you needed work, you got your boots on and you went knocking. Actually, the marketing strategy. So now we have these, this ability to really get our name out there fast. You already have a great Google reputation. I saw it. I love it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what is another, like when you think of like getting your name out there, if I told you, Mo, get a job today, what is your go-to?
I would be probably start door knocking, to get immediate attention, but
good. So let me hit on that. That's okay. So we just identified what I would call a weak spot in your marketing, and that's good because I want to help you. So you need what I like to call an aggressive marketing approach, right? So aggressive marketing approach is, there's two phases. One is acquisition, which is acquiring leads. And the second is you reaching out to those leads and following up, right? So if you told me, Tanner, find a job, what I would do is I'd go to my customer database, shout out to Dripjobs right here when that time comes. And I would go through everyone that is a new lead that has come into my system within the last 4 or 5 months. I can send them a mass email with a special if I want, or I can call them individually. And that's what I did last week. So there was somebody that I called, looking at our schedule, we need to fill the first week of January. So what did I do? I knew the game. So I got in my database. I called somebody that put in a request that I haven't been able to get a hold of 4 weeks ago. Turned out to be a $6,800 job. After me calling him, convincing him for us to come out the same day, we were able to come out, gave him a quote. First week of January, he wants it done. Hey, yeah, actually, I still want my house painted. So that was a lead that came in. I didn't get in touch with him, but me knowing sales, capitalizing from sales, knowing follow-ups, knowing staying on top of people, everyone's got things going on. The emotion was high when he went to my website and he filled out that lead form. And then, for whatever reason, maybe something happened. Who knows? We kind of generalize these things and think, oh, they don't want our business. That's not true. Everyone's different. So I've reached out to him and it turned into an opportunity, right? So that's what I like to call an aggressive approach, So in terms of lead sources, you definitely want as many as you can. It doesn't matter if it's Home Advisor. It doesn't matter if it's Thumbtack. It doesn't matter if it's House. It doesn't matter. There's so many. You should be on all of them. So however people search for fence installation in whatever area you service, at least At the very least, my fence co gets an opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
That's what I shoot for. At least give us the opportunity to earn business. I mean, that's getting the attention, but I can't do anything without the attention or a phone call or anything.
Right. Because there's a customer acquisition pipeline of, first thing it is I identify the need. I search for the need. Before, back in the day, when I had a need, I'd go to the phone book. When I had a need, I call Joanne down the street. When I had a need,
you had a bunch of A's in your business name to be first on the phone book.
Yeah, A, painting. You know, that was the strategy back then. Now the first reaction is, okay, let me Google it. You can't deny that. So I would say that number one for you, although I think your Google listing is great in terms of reviews, I would get Google ads tomorrow.
Really?
That's just the quickest way to do it. You can hire somebody to do SEO. And although I'm not like the greatest SEO fan, if you want to spend the money on it, it's nothing but a benefit. It can't hurt, because if you're the only fence company paying for SEO and there's not another fence company paying for SEO, you're automatically going to get the spoils. And really what you should see is like, your job with marketing is to just throw as much money at whatever avenue people are traveling to find your service. And then once you've done that, that puts you in a position to sit in front of people and convert that money that you put in initially into more money, which is your sale. So you can't do that unless you get opportunity. And you should identify and say, okay, if I do 10 estimates in a week, how many of them am I closing? So then you go back to your marketing and say, I need to spend enough money on marketing to ensure that I get 10 estimates to hit this number. That level of detail is a business owner orchestrating a really solid business. And I think once you understand that dynamic, you're going to get greater ROI, and you're also going to be a good manager of that department, that marketing department. And you're going to get a feel for it. Like I understand with Home Advisor, you know, if I put in $1,000, chances are, you know, 9 out of 10 of those leads are not going to answer the phone on the first call. But I know that a follow-up call, maybe an hour later, or a text message or an email is going to get them to finally get back to me. And that's great. And then I capitalize on that. So it's the consistency and it's the persistence that's going to deliver on those leads. Now, there's also been people that have filled out right on my website, literally went to my website, which is the highest level lead you can get, and they don't answer the phone. That guy I just told you about, somebody that filled it out on my website, never answered us. I sent emails, text messages, and then going through the motions. Not like 4 weeks later, called him. So that is what, you know, going through the motions looks like. That's an aggressive approach to finding business.
You just made me realize probably why I didn't trust in Home Advisor enough. Because I mean, I started out in the beginning and paid the fee, paid the leads and all that stuff, and I would get a lot of no answer phone calls. I'd call them once or twice, but it wasn't, you know, calling them like a few days later or anything. It's kind of like, you know, I shot a call over, they didn't answer. And I was just like, man, after 4, 5 or 6 of those, I'm thinking, you know, and when you're already tight on money and you're trying to figure out how to flex them the best way possible, I'm like, man, it's Home Advisor isn't.
That's where everyone tanks, dude. It's kind of like if you put money into a stock and you see the stock tank, you pull your money out because you're scared you're going to lose it. You got to see it through. That's why I say when you set that budget, you stick to that budget, man. So for me, I'll say, let's say $1,000. I'm going to put $1,000 there. If I lose it, I lose it. That's the game. But I know that at the very least, I'm going to get 10 leads at $100 a lead. I mean, you're going to get more, but I know that I'll have 10 people to call. Okay. That's just how Home Advisor works, is pay per lead. So I'm going to get something. And what I've learned by using them for so long, and this is with any sales, I mean, this is sales 101. Call. And then Dripjobs was really designed to follow up with them automatically. So when a lead comes into Dripjobs, they're going to get an email every day for 7 days automatically. Then they're going to get a text message once every few days. Hey, and then in those emails, in those texts is a link to book. So we don't have to pick up the phone to call them. They could just click the link and book, right? So, and that happens immediately. So as soon as that lead goes in, Dripjobs is going to send that. And that's kind of what my greatest focus on for contractors is helping them convert this cold lead traffic into an opportunity. And that's right. What you just said has been the greatest downfall of many, many contractors is giving up too soon, not really digging deep into that sales process and kind of saying, well, they didn't answer, so they're probably not interested. And I've had people that have answered and have said, Tanner, we're not ready for an estimate right now. And I said, no problem. It's free. Oh, but we're not ready. But no, but you need it to budget. No, Tanner, we just, we have, but that's okay. We're going to be in your area, in 2 weeks. We'll schedule it then. No problem. And I know, we'll be real quick. It'll be 30 minutes. But Tanner, yeah, no problem. So I just want to know, I've Wednesday the 13th available. Does that work? Let me look at my calendar.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. I paid for the lead. I got to convert it. I don't have a choice. My mind doesn't allow me to. There's two things that's going to happen. Either she's going to close me on the idea that she doesn't want an estimate, or I'm going to close her on the idea that she needs an estimate, and I'm not losing to Margaret.
I love it.
I got 9 families that need to eat.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's something to remember. Yeah, for sure.
So
I love that mindset. Yeah, it's either she's going to close you or you're going to close her. That's a good way to look at it for sure. Yeah.
Who's going to win? So, what else you got, man? Any other outstanding questions? We covered a lot.
Those are the 2 big things right now. I kind of want to focus on those 2 things and not much of anything else, just because I know that's most important, is just getting attention in the right way, following up on leads and project management. I just know it's our 2 biggest weak points right now because, and time, I got to figure out how to delegate other stuff to other people by hiring to, so they can go out there and maybe at some point, if they can build a job, they can estimate a job. I would think so they can, at some point, if I get more estimates than I can do, which is only 1 a day, is what I'm limited to right now, which is another huge limiting factor.
To be honest with you, I would do all the estimates for a year at the minimum.
Yeah.
Build your business, man. This isn't a rush, and I think that the idea, I know that there's a little bit of pressure on you to replace your income. But I think once that you realize that you can do this, you're going to probably leave a lot quicker than you think. Because I always say this, the market needs you more than, you need the market, because there's not enough guys wearing polos walking into houses that come across as trustworthy, that have business sense, that will do anything. I love PACE, performance after critical error.
Yeah.
I'm adopting that as my child. That's a good one, man. But, those standards are sought after and they're felt in the marketplace because people have had poor experiences. Just because you're a fencing contractor doesn't mean that they're going to have a wound from a painting contractor who got paint all over their floor. It's the same. They see it as the same. They see us all as the same.
I throw that out there a lot. And I just say, have you, first, one of my qualifying questions, have you worked with a contractor before? What was that experience like to kind of, and this may be something that I've heard you say, I don't know where I get information from these days.
Sounds familiar, but I'm so glad that you say that, because that's something that I say as well.
Yeah. It's just like, what was
I want to know who I'm being compared to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, did they not communicate? Did they not coordinate? Did not, show up on time? What did they do that's how they see value, is like what they did wrong is like what meant something to them because they got angry that thing wasn't done.
Right.
So like the definition of anger to me is like, when something you value is like threatened or not done right, you get angry. So it's like, if that was a pain point for them, of someone not showing up on time, and one other thing, I'm like, I'm going to guarantee we do those 2 things to make this successful.
That's going to be at the top. Protect the plants.
Yeah.
That's
protect the plants. Yeah.
Protect the plants.
Yeah. Don't damage my award-winning crepe myrtle back there.
That's it, man. Yeah, this Craig Myrtle's been with me since my great-grandfather was a child, and then you got Pablo shooting white latex in the air, sprinkling on the and that's kind of, and I love it, man. And then asking what's important, and that's true. So these are all values that you should be passing on to the project manager. And the more that you show up as this guy that does everything the right way, the more that the standards are going to be raised in your business. My guys know that everything's by the book with me. My guys know that it's whatever the customer wants. My guys know that don't even call me if the customer is complaining about something, fix it. Whatever it is if you're doing the job right, there's no reason for there to be any complaints. Now, if the customer's being unruly and wants some crazy thing done, that's when I get the call. But other than that, my guys understand the dynamics of our company. There's leaders. They will follow in line with what the leader says is okay. Whatever you accept to be true is what they're going to accept to be fine. And if the company standard is, we want to get in and get out as quickly as possible so we can get the check in the bank, that's exactly what your guys will do.
That's usually what subs do. They're in and out. The faster they can get the job done, and that leads to not adjusting to changes, not tweaking the line, something. And it's just like, I need to get in and get out.
Well, we didn't even get into that. Is that they're not committed to My Fence Co. No. My Fence Co. is just this guy who sells jobs, and they'll do the bare minimum. But ultimately, employees are loyal to Mo as opposed to this guy. And I think that's what you're going to try to build. And I think it starts immediately, man. I really think. And what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give you this Google form, and I'm going to give you my ad template just for being here today, man. So you can get going immediately. I think that you can really get somebody in your, in your sphere of, in your world that could really use a job and would be grateful to work for you. So I'll give that to you.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, no problem, man. I think we're going to wrap up today, man. Great talk. I'd love to have you on again, hear some progress. I think
that'd be awesome.
I mean, these breakthroughs, man, people always ask me, well, what happened with Jeff and what happened with, I'm like, man, I got to get these guys back on. So I'd love to have you back maybe, in a month or so to hear, what happened.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And it's good because it's accountability. So don't come back and tell me that you didn't do anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I love it.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanner.
Hold on, man.
Hey, I just want to take a second to thank you for joining me here on the Contractor Secrets podcast. I'm just going to take this opportunity to let you know that my passion is coaching people, helping people. I've changed my Instagram name to @contractorcoach. And I did that because that is my passion. I want to help you. So please reach out to me. If you have an issue going on in your business, send me an email. Find me on Instagram, message me, and let's do a breakthrough session. I want to work through your problems in your business to help you get to that next level. And one thing that I always say is this, the difference between those that get over the humps and the hurdles in business is just a change in perspective. And that's what I plan to offer you. So get with me, message me, allow me to help you take your business to the next level.